Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So January was an interesting month on the justice front. It started with public admissions of crime by Peter Navarro, and it ended with public admissions of crime by Donald Trump, who told us he wanted Mike Pence to overturn the results of the election. So friends, we're still moving in the direction of justice, but nobody can say we're getting there fast. Here's a brief recap of the legal stories for the month that was January 2022. So the Department of Justice just issued a press release giving us a little nugget, a little kernel, some breadcrumbs regarding its ongoing investigation into the insurrection. So let's follow the breadcrumbs into the new year and try to figure out whether 2022 will in fact be the year of accountability. It's got to be, friends, because justice matters. So December was one roller coaster ride of a month. Here's a short recap of the legal stories for the month that was December 2021. So let's talk about what Representatives Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney said this weekend about the mission, drive, and purpose of the January 6th committee. Because justice matters. So based on some new reporting, it looks like we can add Peter Navarro to the list of Trump lackeys who tried to corruptly overturn the election results. You know, at the rate we're going, we're gonna need a bigger indictment. Because justice matters. So Attorney General Merrick Garland spoke. He addressed the American people about the nature of the investigation into the attack on the Capitol. And friends, what he said was important. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So with the remarks today by President Biden and by Vice President Harris, as well as the remarks yesterday by Attorney General Merrick Garland, and the work being done by the federal prosecutors investigating the insurrection and the House Select Committee investigating the same, things are aligning on the justice front. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So let's talk about the two faces of Kevin McCarthy and how he has likely talked himself right into a congressional subpoena. Because justice matters. So let's take a few minutes today to focus on two short sound bites from Representative Kevin McCarthy and talk about how his recklessness and his duplicity are about to come back to bite him, I predict, in the form of a congressional subpoena, at least for starters. Because justice matters. So Representative Jim Jordan has announced that he will not testify before the House Select Committee about Donald Trump's conduct surrounding the insurrection. Let's talk about the three main reasons witnesses often try to weasel out of having to testify. Because justice matters. So, friends, if you're anything like me, you're probably sick and tired of playing the waiting game, waiting for justice to come for Donald Trump. But based on some pretty strong new indicators, it looks like we might not have to wait that much longer. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So Representatives Jim Jordan and Scott Perry have information relevant to Donald Trump's conduct on and around January 6th. In short, they have information relevant to Donald Trump's crimes, and they're refusing to provide it to the House Select Committee. Let's talk about the case for both subpoenaing and criminally investigating Jim Jordan and Scott Perry. Because justice matters. So Representative Kevin McCarthy just said he will not cooperate with the House Select Committee's investigation. He will not provide information and evidence he has about Donald Trump's conduct and statements on January 6th. Let's talk about what constitutes a criminal cover-up. Because justice matters. So 11 members of the Oath Keepers group are now indicted for participating in a seditious conspiracy. Let's talk about the law, let's talk about the facts, and then let's talk about how Donald Trump's conduct and crimes flow through all 48 pages of this criminal indictment. Because justice matters. The politicians who are presently covering up Donald Trump's crimes, Meadows, Jordan, Perry, and McCarthy, all of those folks need to be held accountable as well. Because justice matters. So there are lots of concerns being expressed that Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice aren't moving quickly enough or aren't moving at all to hold the big fish of the insurrection accountable. So let's look for some clues about how Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice likely are approaching their investigation into this unprecedented series of crimes. Because justice matters. So the new governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, a regular mini Trump, may have violated Virginia state law with an executive order he issued on his very first day in office. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So things just heated up regarding the criminal investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So New York State Attorney General Letitia James is seeking the testimony of Donald Trump, Don Jr., and Ivanka in her civil fraud investigation of the Trump Organization. And we just learned, courtesy of a court filing by Attorney General James, that when Eric Trump was subpoenaed and forced to testify in that same civil investigation, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. What are the legal consequences that flow from Eric pleading the Fifth? And what are his dad and his brother and his sister likely to do now? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on our Capitol, attack on our democracy, has issued another round of subpoenas. That's important, but I think we have to ask ourselves, what is the House Select Committee going to do this time when the witnesses, the recipients of these subpoenas, ignore, disregard, defy these lawfully issued congressional subpoenas? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So, given a number of recent legal developments in multiple jurisdictions, the investigative circle is tightening around Donald Trump. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So, we hear a lot of talk about subpoenas, congressional subpoenas, civil subpoenas being issued by New York State Attorney General Letitia James, Georgia State subpoenas that it looks like are about to be issued by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis in connection with the impaneling of a special grand jury in Georgia. Let's talk about why all subpoenas are not created equal, and then let's talk about what kind of subpoena is best positioned to achieve justice. Because justice matters. So we just learned from a newly released draft executive order that Donald Trump wanted to direct the military to seize all voting machines in the country after he lost the election. Let's talk about the implications of this draft executive order and where things go from here. Because justice matters. So we just learned that the January 6th committee is talking with former Attorney General Bill Barr. What kind of trouble could that spell for Donald Trump? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So we just learned that former Attorney General Bill Barr has been talking with the House Select Committee. Raises two questions. One, is he telling the truth? And two, what should we take away from the fact that Bill Barr has been talking with the House Select Committee and it didn't leak? We didn't know anything about it until Chairman Benny Thompson told us about it yesterday on the Sunday shows. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So Newt Gingrich delivers a gift to the Democrats, making clear why the House Select Committee should absolutely use its power of inherent contempt to compel the testimony of witnesses. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So things are moving, friends, because we just learned that the Department of Justice is investigating the phony elector scheme designed to corruptly throw the election to Donald Trump. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So the leader of the Oath Keepers, one of Donald Trump's kind of guys, was just ordered jailed pending trial. Who is Stewart Rhodes, and where do things go from here? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said something recently that's relevant to what might happen next to Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows, who was referred for criminal prosecution 45 days ago. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So we keep hearing from Department of Justice officials that they will, say it with me, follow the facts and follow the law wherever they lead. But what happens when we already have the facts and we already have the law, but what we can't seem to get is any accountability? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So Donald Trump is now running on a platform of pardons. No, you can't make this stuff up, friends. Let's talk about it, because justice matters. So do we think Donald Trump's written confession will prod the Department of Justice into action? Let's talk about that, because justice matters.